Hello Golden State Warriors fans, we are here once again to bring you the latest news related to our team, and I would like to emphasize how committed we are to improving our performance to achieve great results. Before we dive into this intriguing news, I kindly request you to show your support by clicking the like button, and if you are not yet subscribed to our channel, I invite you all to join us on an exciting journey. Remember to turn on notifications so you don't miss anything.
Who are the guys? NBA Insider questions whether the Warriors have the right supporting cast for Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler. The Golden State Warriors have a lot of questions to answer heading into next season, and standing still this offseason hasn't helped. While teams like the Houston Rockets and Denver Nuggets made aggressive moves to strengthen their rosters, the Warriors chose silence. No major trades, no blockbuster signings, nothing to suggest they're ready to match the energy of a rapidly improving Western Conference. Even Draymond Green reportedly offered his perspective on how to build around Stephen Curry and newly acquired Jimmy Butler. Still, the front office didn't act. And that inaction has already cost them. Longtime Warrior Kevin Looney, a key locker room presence and reliable contributor, is now with the New Orleans Pelicans. The reality? This roster is far from complete. And for NBA insider Rob Mahoney, the lack of depth and direction is deeply concerning. Rob Mahoney raises concerns. Who's helping Steph and Jimmy get to the finish line? Appearing on the Low Post podcast with Zach Lowe, Mahoney didn't hold back. While he acknowledges the potential of a Curry-Butler-led team, particularly in the postseason, he's skeptical about how they'll survive the grind of the regular season. What's really holding me back is this, Mahoney explained. I fully believe, we've just seen it, that a Warriors team with Jimmy Butler is absolutely capable of making a deep run. But here's the catch. Who on this roster is helping Steph and Jimmy get through 82 games? Who's easing the burden, saving their legs, getting them to the playoffs in one piece? That's the million-dollar question. Because while Curry and Butler can turn it on when it matters most, you need the right pieces around them to even get there. There might be a lot of guys on this team who can play 16 great playoff games, Mahoney said, but very few who can give you a consistent, impactful 82. The youth problem. Warriors keep getting older. The Warriors now find themselves at a critical crossroads. Veterans Al Horford and DeAnthony Melton are expected to join the team, but both come with injury histories and recent signs of wear. At the same time, rising star Jonathan Kuminga may be on his way to Charlotte, another blow to the team's already fragile youth movement. For every young piece they lose, the Warriors seem to be doubling down on aging stars. But as the 2021-22 Lakers proved, relying too heavily on veterans in today's NBA is a recipe for disappointment. If Golden State hopes to maximize what remains of the Stephen Curry and Draymond Green era, they can't keep putting this off. They need fresh legs. They need energy. They need youth. Time for Dunleavy Jr. to act. It's now on GM Mike Dunleavy Jr. to make some bold, forward-thinking moves. The Warriors can't just count on experience and championship DNA. They need players who can contribute night in and night out. Players who can keep Steph and Jimmy fresh for when the real games begin. Because if they can get to the playoffs in one piece, with the right support around them, they'll be a nightmare for anyone. But first, they have to get there. The pressure is mounting, and the league is watching. Around the league, eyebrows are being raised. Other teams are retooling, developing young cores, and preparing for the long haul. The Warriors? They're clinging to a fading formula, hoping that veteran leadership and playoff savvy will be enough to bridge the gap. But that strategy is starting to show cracks. The departure of Kevin Looney wasn't just a loss of a role player, it was symbolic. Looney was one of the few remaining glue guys who understood the Warriors culture, who could bang down low, clean up rebounds, and do the dirty work without needing touches. His exit leaves a hole that hasn't been filled, and there's no clear plan to address it. Meanwhile, whispers around the league suggest growing skepticism toward the Warriors' long-term vision. With Kuminga potentially heading to the Hornets, the message being sent is loud and clear: youth development isn't the priority. Curry and Butler, a high-stakes partnership. Bringing Jimmy Butler into the mix raised hopes that the Warriors were ready to make one final championship push. Butler brings playoff toughness, defensive tenacity, and the kind of competitive fire that meshes well with Curry's leadership and finesse. But even Butler, for all his postseason brilliance, has dealt with nagging injuries and minutes management concerns over the past few years. If Golden State expects him to carry a heavy load through an 82-game grind, they may be setting themselves up for disappointment. As one anonymous Western Conference executive told The Athletic, Pairing Steph and Jimmy sounds great on paper, but if you're not surrounding them with legs, lungs, and energy, you're asking too much of them too late in their careers. Inside the locker room, optimism with caution. Sources close to the Warriors' locker room say that players are cautiously optimistic but aware of the uphill battle ahead. There's belief in the core. There's belief in Steve Kerr's system. But belief alone won't win games, especially when younger, deeper teams like Oklahoma City, Minnesota, and Houston are hungry and ascending. Veterans like Horford may help steady the ship, but his age, 38, and recent injury history make it unrealistic to rely on him nightly. Melton brings much-needed perimeter defense, but he too has struggled with consistency and health. And unless the front office acts soon, the Warriors could find themselves dangerously close to becoming what they once dominated, a team stuck in the middle, too old to rebuild, too thin to contend. Time is ticking on a championship window. This isn't just about making the playoffs. It's about legacy. Stephen Curry is still one of the greatest players on the planet. Draymond Green still anchors the defense. Klay Thompson may be gone, but there's still enough firepower, if the supporting cast steps up. But that if is getting bigger by the day. Golden State has the pedigree. They have the star power. What they lack is a clear path forward. And in a Western Conference that's more competitive than it's been in years, standing still is essentially moving backward. The verdict: win now, or risk fading fast. If the Warriors are truly serious about contending in what could be the final prime years of Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler, then Mike Dunleavy Jr. can't afford to wait. The time to act was yesterday. Injecting young talent into the roster isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Whether through trades, player development, or aggressive signings, the Warriors must find the right blend of youth and experience. Because if they don't, this might be the beginning of the end for a dynasty that once defined a generation. Alex Caruso gets real about guarding the dangerous Stephen Curry, and points out a hidden truth about the Warriors' offense. Guarding Stephen Curry isn't just tough, it's a nightmare. Ask any NBA defender, and they'll tell you, there's no one quite like him. His shooting range is legendary, his movement is relentless, and his impact? Unmatched. And Alex Caruso, widely considered one of the league's top perimeter defenders, knows this better than most. Having faced off against Curry countless times, Caruso offered a brutally honest take on the challenge during a recent appearance on the Dan Patrick Show. "People think he's dangerous when the ball's in his hands," Caruso said. "But honestly, he's even more terrifying when he gives it up. He's more dangerous off the ball than on it." Caruso pulled back the curtain on what makes Curry so difficult to guard. It's not just the deep threes or the quick release. It's the constant motion. As soon as Curry passes the ball, he doesn't stop moving. He cuts, he curls, he relocates, all while reading the defense like a quarterback. He and Draymond Green are on the same page, almost telepathically, Caruso explained. They know exactly where to go and how to set each other up. That two-man game, it's wild. But Caruso didn't stop there. With a half-smile, he brought up something defenders around the league quietly complain about. As a defender, I'll just say it, there's a lot of illegal screens going on. And somehow, they always get away with it. It was said with a touch of humor, but also a nod to a long-running frustration among NBA defenses. Trying to fight through Warrior screens, particularly those involving Green and Curry, often feels like running through a brick wall, with no whistle. Golden State's off-season silence raises eyebrows. Curry may be nearly unguardable, but even he can't do it alone. And despite the Warriors possessing one of the greatest offensive weapons in NBA history, their front office has been surprisingly quiet this offseason. While teams across the Western Conference, like the Nuggets, Thunder, and Rockets, have made bold moves to improve, Golden State has stood still. Even with Jimmy Butler reportedly on board, there's been no real effort to build a sustainable contender around their new star duo. Draymond Green has publicly shared his thoughts on how to structure the roster around Curry and Butler, and yet, no meaningful changes have been made. Yes, veteran additions like Al Horford and DeAnthony Melton are on the horizon, but both come with question marks. Horford is pushing 40, and Melton, though talented, has struggled to stay healthy. A championship legacy hanging in the balance. That's what makes Caruso's comments even more revealing. If a player of his caliber is still overwhelmed by Curry's brilliance, and if Curry is still bending defenses in ways few ever have, it begs the question. Why aren't the Warriors doing more to support him? The clock is ticking. Curry isn't just a superstar, he's a generational icon. But time is unforgiving, even to legends. Without the right support around him and Butler, Golden State risks wasting the final chapters of a historic career. As it stands, the Warriors don't look like contenders. They look like a team relying on yesterday's magic to win tomorrow's battles. And in today's NBA, that's just not enough. The league is catching up, and the Warriors are standing still. It's not just the Warriors fans who are frustrated. Around the NBA, there's a growing sense that Golden State is missing the moment. While other franchises are evolving, loading up on youth, athleticism and depth, the Warriors are betting on experience and familiarity. That strategy worked in 2022. But it's 2025 now, and the Western Conference looks very different. The Oklahoma City Thunder have become one of the most balanced and dangerous young teams in the league. The Houston Rockets made big strides in free agency and are no longer the easy win they once were. Denver remains elite. Sacramento is hungry. Even Memphis, with Ja Morant back in full health, looks like a team ready to reassert itself. Meanwhile, the Warriors are pinning their hopes on 36-year-old Stephen Curry and 35-year-old Jimmy Butler, two future Hall of Famers with playoff fire still burning, but with miles on their legs and minimal help. Front office silence creating locker room tension? Sources close to the organization suggest that frustration is quietly building behind the scenes. Draymond Green, who's never been shy about voicing his opinion, has already gone public with his thoughts on how the team should be constructed around Curry and Butler. So far, though, those calls have fallen on deaf ears. If Jonathan Kuminga is indeed dealt to Charlotte, the Warriors will lose one of their last promising young pieces, a player who many around the league believe has all-star upside. That move would reinforce the narrative that Golden State is all in on the short term, even if the long-term cost is steep. What message does that send to the locker room? Or to Curry, whose loyalty to the franchise has been unwavering, even when it seemed like the dynasty's window was closing? The illegal screen debate isn't just a joke anymore. Back to Caruso's comments. While his remarks about illegal screens came off as playful, they've reignited an ongoing debate among players, coaches, and fans. Golden State's offensive system thrives on movement, chaos, and constant screening, much of it orchestrated by Draymond Green. And yes, it often toes the line between physical and illegal. Caruso simply said what many defenders think but won't say publicly. The NBA has largely let it slide over the years, partly because of the Warriors' success and partly because of Curry's status as the league's golden child. But with the league placing renewed emphasis on freedom of movement and stricter enforcement of screen violations, don't be surprised if this becomes a point of emphasis heading into next season. If that happens, it could have real consequences on the Warriors' offensive flow, and further complicate an already delicate situation. A crossroads for the dynasty. Here's the truth. Stephen Curry is still capable of MVP-level play. Jimmy Butler still rises when the lights are brightest. But neither of them can do it alone. The Warriors are no longer the deepest team in the league. They're no longer the most feared. What they have is legacy, heart, and leadership, but that's not enough in a conference stacked with size, speed, and shooting. This offseason was supposed to be the turning point, the moment the front office said, "We're not done yet." Instead, they've remained silent. And unless something changes soon, this team, once the standard for how to build and sustain greatness, may quietly fade into the background. The bottom line, it's now or never. If Golden State wants to give Curry a Real shot at ring number 5, the time for hesitation is over. The league has evolved. The competition is fierce. And sentimentality won't win championships. Caruso's comments may have started as a lighthearted take on defending a generational shooter, but they've unintentionally shined a light on a bigger issue. The Warriors aren't just hard to guard. They're hard to figure out right now. The next few months could define the future of the franchise, and determine whether this dynasty ends on a high note, or quietly drifts into memory. What the Golden State Warriors reportedly considered after LeBron James opted into his $52.6 million contract with the Lakers. When LeBron James opted into the final year of his contract with the Los Angeles Lakers, a deal worth a staggering $52.6 million, it made headlines across the league. After all, it's unheard of for a player approaching his 41st birthday to command that kind of salary. But if anyone defies the norms of aging in the NBA, it's LeBron. Entering what would be his 23rd season, James remains one of the league's most impactful stars. Still, his decision to opt in has been met with both curiosity and criticism, not because of his play, but because of the shifting dynamics within the Lakers organization. A franchise now focused on Luka Doncic. The Lakers made waves this past season by acquiring Luka Doncic, a generational talent entering his prime. With Luka now firmly positioned as the new face of the franchise, it's no secret that the Lakers are pivoting toward building around him for the long term. That leaves LeBron, a legend yes but an aging one, in an unfamiliar position, no longer the centerpiece. And that shift hasn't gone unnoticed around the league. Golden State Warriors considered a LeBron trade, again. According to ESPN's Ramona Shelburne and Brian Windhorst, the Golden State Warriors were one of several teams that took a close look at the possibility of trading for James after he exercised his player option. Some teams, including the Golden State Warriors, who tried to trade for James in 2023-24, again considered whether to make an offer, ESPN reported. It's not the first time Golden State has expressed interest in pairing LeBron with Stephen Curry, a hypothetical superteam that would send shockwaves through the NBA. And with the Warriors remaining unusually quiet this offseason, some insiders believe they may still be holding out hope for a blockbuster opportunity like this. The LeBron-Curry dream? The idea of LeBron James and Steph Curry sharing the floor has long been a fan fantasy. Two generational talents, two different styles, both masters of their craft. It's a combination that could instantly shift the Western Conference landscape. But there's one major catch. LeBron has a no-trade clause, meaning any deal would require his full approval. That gives him complete control over his destiny, even as the Lakers subtly shift focus away from him. The beginning of the end in Los Angeles? LeBron's time with the Lakers has been nothing short of iconic. Since arriving in 2018, when the team was mired in one of the darkest stretches in its history, James helped return the franchise to prominence, culminating in the 2020 NBA championship. In 7 seasons with the team, he's averaged 26.6 points, 7.9 rebounds, and 8.1 assists per game, elite production, even by MVP standards. Yet as reported by Shelburne and Windhorst, all signs point toward the 2025-26 season being LeBron's last in a Lakers uniform. James understood the Lakers were seizing the opportunity to build around their new young star, they wrote. But from LeBron's perspective, that transition didn't always come across as gracefully as he might have hoped. Luka never lobbied to be a Laker, he was acquired through aggressive front office maneuvering. LeBron, on the other hand, chose Los Angeles. He joined a team that had missed the playoffs for 5 straight years, and in just 2 seasons, delivered their 17th NBA title. A legacy in transition. There's no denying the emotional weight of this turning point. LeBron James has given everything to the purple and gold: leadership, consistency, championships, and global star power. But in the end, even icons get outpaced by time and the inevitability of change. As the Lakers move into the Luka era, the NBA watches closely. Will LeBron quietly finish his run in LA? Will he approve a trade to chase one last ring with a contender like the Warriors? Or will he shock everyone and hang it up on his own terms? Whatever happens next, LeBron's legacy is secure. But how and where, it concludes. That's the story still being written. Rumors spiral, LeBron's next move in question. Following the Lakers' pivot to Luka Doncic, speculation has intensified across the NBA. As insiders and rival executives keep a close eye on LA, multiple teams are said to be quietly circling, ready to propose trade packages should LeBron exercise his no-trade rights. Among the names floating around, the Miami Heat, who may see value in pairing LeBron with Jimmy Butler during one last title charge. The Phoenix Suns, banking on reunited chemistry after LeBron led them to the NBA Finals in 2018. Even Cleveland, a sentimental destination where LeBron's career began, might loom as a potential landing spot if he decides to end where it began. While there's no public trade push yet, sources say the Lakers remain firm, emphasizing that any LeBron departure must be his choice, not forced. Lakers culture, a shift in leadership. The cultural gap in the Lakers locker room is becoming more palpable. Team communications. Internal meetings now regularly feature Luka as the lead voice on offense and strategy sessions, signaling a formal handoff of leadership roles. Fan experience. Merchandise updated with #23Doncic jerseys and social media campaigns heavily feature Luka, subtly repositioning marketing efforts in his image. Coaching focus. Coaching staff, including head coach J.J. Redick, have started discussions about playing styles better suited to Luka's athleticism and versatility, stepping away from tactics tailored to accommodate LeBron's veteran presence. Collectively, these moves strengthen the narrative. Luka is the future, and leadership is already shifting. LeBron's response: quiet, but strategic. While LeBron remains publicly supportive, emphasizing team unity and shared goals, his demeanor since opting in has been noticeably reserved. Preseason hints: observers noted LeBron's quieter presence during early training sessions. He practices hard, competes intensely, but is noticeably less vocal in leadership huddles. Whether that's a sign of emotional fatigue or strategic carefulness is open to interpretation. Agent signals: Rich Paul, LeBron's agent, has emphasized patience and process, reiterating that LeBron hasn't ruled out returning to LA, but hasn't ruled out exploring contender destinations either, depending on the team's path forward. A league-wide turning point. If LeBron departs, the ripple effects will be monumental. Lakers enter a full rebuild era around Luka, and begin leveraging LeBron-era assets to accelerate that growth. LeBron offers contenders a rare chance at wisdom, experience, and championship pedigree, even as he edges closer to retirement. NBA narrative loses one of its most prolific ongoing storylines. With LeBron no longer under the spotlight in LA, the focus shifts fully to the Luka era. But for many, the question of LeBron's final chapter will become the defining off-season storyline. What to watch next? Preseason performance. Will LeBron dominate when on the floor? Will he seem disinterested? Trade whispers. Will any contender put a serious offer on the table? Luka's ascent. How will Luka respond to having more responsibility and spotlight year one? Fan reaction. Will #LeBron leaving break or unify the Laker fanbase moving forward? Final thought. The story isn't over, but the plot has undeniably shifted. As LeBron James stands at a crossroads, the Lakers are already turning toward their new beacon, Luka Doncic. Both the franchise and the league will feel the impact of this change. The only certainty now is uncertainty, and the knowledge that the story of LeBron's final season with the Lakers, and Luka's rise to ownership of the purple and gold mantle, is only just beginning. Very soon, Brian Windhorst names 2 players he expects the Warriors to sign in free agency. The Golden State Warriors are the only NBA team yet to make a free agency signing this offseason, and while that has some fans panicking, ESPN's Brian Windhorst is urging patience. So far, the Warriors' offseason has been unusually quiet. They lost longtime center Kevin Looney, haven't signed a single free agent, and watched other Western Conference teams reload around them. The Houston Rockets, who Golden State defeated in the playoffs, made arguably the biggest splash, bringing in former Warriors superstar Kevin Durant, along with Clint Capella and Dorian Finney-Smith. Even the LA Lakers made a major move, shoring up their front court by signing DeAndre Ayton. Meanwhile, the Warriors have held their cards close. But according to Windhorst, fans should not be concerned. In fact, he believes the Warriors are just getting started, and that 2 key signings are very much in play. I expect them to make a couple of moves soon, Windhorst said on ESPN's First Take. I expect them to sign Al Horford. And I see them as strong candidates to bring back DeAnthony Melton, who would give them solid depth on the wing. Windhorst also noted that the Jonathan Kuminga situation remains unresolved, and could play a major role in how the team shapes the rest of the roster. They've got the no. One restricted free agent left on the market in Jonathan Kuminga, Windhorst continued. They're either going to re-sign him or potentially use him in a trade to add value. But make no mistake, the Warriors are going to make moves before the season begins. Al Horford could fill a major need. With his contract in Boston expiring, veteran big man Al Horford has been heavily linked to Golden State. Head coach Steve Kerr is known to be a huge admirer of Horford's leadership, intelligence, and defensive versatility. At 38, he's not a long-term solution, but he fits perfectly within the Warriors' current win-now timeline, especially alongside Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green. Some around the league even believe the Warriors should do whatever it takes to land the future Hall of Famer. Melton reunion makes sense. DeAnthony Melton spent part of last season with the Warriors before suffering a torn ACL and being traded. Now a free agent, he's expected to be healthy by the start of the 2025-26 season, and Golden State reportedly sees value in bringing him back. His defensive presence, playmaking ability, and familiarity with Kerr's system make him a natural fit for the second unit. The Kuminga domino. While the Warriors remain high on Kuminga's potential, they're also aware of his market value. The Sacramento Kings are believed to be the most aggressive suitor, but talks have yet to result in a deal. Windhorst cautions that the situation might take a while to unfold. Kuminga's future may not get resolved anytime soon, he said. But whatever happens, the Warriors are in a position to benefit, either by keeping him or using him as a high-value trade chip. Either way, there's no need to panic.